Basketball.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skitty, and Malley for the Insight NBA show.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to a Christmas week edition, week 10, if you are on ESPN and on Fantrax. Week 9 in Yahoo leagues. We're dividing between church and state. Malley, how are you, mate?
I'm joyous and merry. Yourself?
You look joyous and merry. You're sitting there like, I just want to talk about the streamers. I don't want to talk about the holidays. I want basketball, and I want a full week. Is your Christmas wish for a fantasy week where there's 7 days of fantasy action for you to stream and trade?
Would be nice. 8 days in a week would be good, but we take what we get. And the day off never hurts. That's usually when I do my trading, so I can still have something to do.
Yeah, 2 weeks of 2 games for the previous 2 weeks. 1 day this week out of action. Next week we return to a full slate of lineups. Well done, GGs. You got me 5-4. I made the mistake of benching my bigs and going for some points in our matchup last week in our Insight leagues. Well done to you. I love a good 5-4. It means we can swing these things either way, which is what it's all about. And you made a couple of good ads, including one guy you dropped off who might be an ad this week, Kelly Oubre Jr. He had a good week and then sucked for the last game.
Yeah. I tossed him out and I picked up who did I get in the end there? Houston.
Dylan
Didn't
Brooks?
I pick up? Yeah, Brooks. Yeah, I picked up Brooks, and he had that absolute steamroller of a game. So,
yep. Thank you. Well played. Thank you very much. It's great to see that I lost a week of fantasy basketball thanks to Dylan Brooks of all people here. But you never know what does. You pulled that in literally just for that last game of the week as well. And I think that's a league that I've got Fred VanVleet in. Oh, no, I've got him in a different one. And he just, again, his field goal percentage this week has been in the absolute toilet. But we are talking about guys who aren't in the toilet, Malley. You've got 10 guys. I've got 10 guys. And we've also got stream guys. We're going to actually break down the schedule. We're going to bring up the schedule. We're going to talk about it and how you can attack it. Monday kind of sucks if we look at it straight away because there's 14 games. Now, I was, funnily enough, in a league, and I said it in the last pod, Malley, where I would love to hear from someone who had an empty roster spot when there was 28 teams in the NBA playing. Funnily enough, in Champs League, I had an empty roster spot.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing, hey, but it happens. I mean, it's got to happen sometime in the season if you keep the same lineup. So, yeah, very unlikely.
Very unlikely. I'd say because Trey Murphy went out in the third quarter with his ankle injury yesterday. He wasn't playing today anyway, but Emmanuel quickly would have filled that position, but he's injured. There's no IR or IL. So there's 8 actives, I believe, and 2 on the bench. And of all those 10 guys in my roster, one of them missed out, so I had to stream one in. So that's what we're here to talk about. Again, we have 14 games on the Monday, none on Tuesday. Soft day of action on Wednesday for the week at 5. Thursday is 9. Friday is 8. And Saturday is 9, returning to a nice, easy scheduled day Sunday. And there are absolutely no back-to-backs for the first half of the week. So this is what we're talking about. Sad Jordan feels. There are no back-to-backs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. And you're looking for some value this week. Take us through these first 5 guys on your list here, Malley. Talk about them. This is their ownership as well on Yahoo, ESPN, and Fantrax, respectively.
Just back to the schedule too. It's awesome. Actually, it's a really good week for streaming because those first 2 days you don't need to stream. You're locked with your 14-game Monday, and then Tuesday, obviously, you're not using any of your acquisitions unless you're picking up for the following 5 days. But yeah, I think it's great because most of our leagues, or most of the ones I'm in, will give me 4 pickups this week. So that's 4 pickups over 5 days. So yeah, I'm basically just going to churn out a guy each day and find a back-to-back in one of those days or save and do a double at the end or something like that. But it's actually a really favourable schedule for picking up and letting guys go. So you're probably going to have to be a little bit ruthless this week, especially with these big game days, and play the numbers. Yeah, let's have a look at my guys.
Well, I'll tell you that on Ruthless as well, though. You tipped off a really good point. There are only 4 teams with a 2-game week. And so this is where the guys on the fringes of these teams, even like your Keon Ellis's, your Kevin Huerters, your Trey Lyles, your Javonte. Now, Javonte Green's an interesting one based on the injury update from Trey Murphy. Clippers, like Kevin Porter Jr., these guys on the fringes. Cavs, even, look, George's name, he's going to be out there. Maxi Strus returning, so Karis LeVert, Ty Jerome. These might be the guys that are going to be first off because they've only got 2 games. Why hold 2 when you can get 4 of value straight away? So they're going to have to be the first cuts in your roster.
Yeah, definitely. And that makes, and he's on my list, but makes Strus a hard pickup for this week. But it's also one of those things too that because he's not playing a lot, he probably got thrown back to the waiver wire.
Yep.
He is probably one of those guys. If you do have some big game days and you don't need to do some streaming, or you can pick him up and hold him at the end of the week for next week. I know we're thinking probably, a couple of chess moves ahead of the game at the moment.
You need to do. That's what you need to do, though. You need to do that. You need to be thinking about those moves in advance. And you're spot on, man. Like if someone's dropped out, he played on the Friday game. He was okay. Like just got a few minutes in there, ramping up. Saturday, didn't play the back-to-back. So he's going to go off people's radars. And so you're spot on to put him onto the list because you know what? 2 games this week, he's probably going to be floating in there when everyone's grabbing at straws, trying to make it work for them, like you said. This is a nice little under the radar, like, oh, what about Strusy? If you're well in front, this is where you grab Strusy because if he has a game time decision, in some of these places would still red flag him because he didn't play last game, you could just easily add him into an IL spot as well.
And another guy that fills that those criteria that I know that you're going to talk about later on is Naismith too. Because Naismith, wrong guy, both very important in basketball apparently.
Naismith and Naismith are both related to basketball.
Because he'll be coming back pretty shortly, and because they have a big week this week, I'm sure his name will be thrown around a lot just because of the amount of games that Pacers players are going to play. So it's probably a good idea to pick him up. But just to my guys here, I've got Drew Smith. He's getting plenty of minutes at the moment, and he's a great waiver wire target because he's a bit of a master of none, but like a jack of all, like he can kind of do a little bit of everything. He's been doing some scoring. He's reasonably efficient. He gets a couple of assists, a couple of rebounds. He's not outstanding in any one facet, but the thing that's exciting about him is that he's consistently getting the minutes. Max Strus, we've already talked about. Larry Nance is 2 games down for his 4-game replacement of Onyeka Okongwu. So I've picked him up and enjoyed the 2 games that I've got out of him, and will obviously hold him for another 2. There's Drew. Like those numbers are okay. The steals are pretty nice. I know he's someone that, and especially that he's getting the mid-20 type minutes at the moment. He's definitely someone that I'm picking up, especially in my 14, 16-man leagues.
And you were mentioning Braden Pojemski is the next on your list here, one of 2 Golden State Warriors. You like a little bit cheeky as a pods there. He's had a couple good games lately.
He has, and you can see there with the minutes are a little bit all over the place.
Yeah.
But the Warriors are in a bit of disarray at the moment, and that's probably playing into his hand a little bit, and he's getting some minutes, especially in some of these blowout games. Dre looks like he might sit, and although they play different positions, that eventually rolls down to Brandon having more. They need a hustle guy out there, so he's kind of does the Dre work a little bit when Dre's not there. And that's probably why Trace Jackson Davis makes this list as well. He had a pearler the other day, which doesn't guarantee him having a pearler in the next game when they play today. I think they got the last game of the day today, so we'll be interested to see how he goes. And maybe because you're not really using any of your pickups at the moment, that might be a decent watch just to see what he does. Be quick on the trigger for both him and Brandon Pojemski, because obviously they're not going to be playing on the Christmas Eve game, but they're straight back in. They play Christmas Day, don't they? I'd be pretty sure that
I
Golden
think they
State
do,
are on
yeah.
for that.
And you can see that he's clicked up to 43. He's gone up even 3% in the last day. And from when we were looking at it, and he was on there for your list, and we had him up here, he was up from 44%. So immediately, this is a guy we can look into our waivers who's getting a little bit of traction, 2% up since I put this together like 10 p.m. last night here. So I guess in the last 12 hours, he's already gone up 2% ownership, which means there is a swing already to get him into the lineups for Monday.
Yeah. So you don't need to add him just yet. I would just wait and see what happens in the game today. You don't want Steve Kerr to go with a completely different lineup. You want to see what Dre's doing. You want to see if they get blown out again. You want to make sure there's no injuries. So it's one of those things too, always, and we probably don't talk about this enough. It's the working of your waiver wire is a delicate operation because you want to go early because you want to pick up a guy that's going to be hot property, and that other people are watching for them. But at the same time, you don't want to drop someone too early because you want to get a game out of them. So you've got to have your finger over the trigger, and you also don't want to go too early because often what happens is you pick up someone and then someone else gets injured or something happens. You're like, oh, damn, that would have been a great pickup for me. So, just another one of the wild elements of fantasy basketball that we enjoy is the when do you hold them, when do you fold them, how early do you go type thing.
And I think it's another thing as well. It's like also your league settings. And I think that's something that people often forget is like how nuanced league settings are. I know it just sounds like a really weird thing to say, like nuanced league settings. Well, it's pretty much on it. It's if you think about it, some leagues have it where you can add guys when they're playing. So if they're playing in a current game, you can drop them off straight away and add your next guy, like ESPN, for example, sometimes. If they're playing, you can drop them to make your ad for the next day because they're not playing. Whereas if they're currently playing or in that role, you can't do them during the course of their game or on the day that they've played in Yahoo leagues or in some Fantrax leagues. You've got to bid at midnight. You've got to wait to see how it goes so everyone's attacking it. Whereas those ones on ESPN, where that streaming spot's really friendly, is you can drop a guy off that's playing right now because the system recognizes they're not playing tomorrow. You can drop them off, pick someone up straight away, and that's where you can beat your opponents quite easily sometimes, which is a nice little pickup.
Yeah, definitely, and you're right. Just knowing your league settings, knowing when you can make those pickups is really important. So, for someone like Larry Nance, I think you're basically guaranteed today's game, and then you're guaranteed one more, and then he's probably going to go back to doing absolutely nothing again. But then again, the 4 games which they called straight away for a Congo, which was very nice of Atlanta to do that for us in fantasy.
And we were just talking about him being like, how dark do you have to be? How deep loving to add Larry Nance to you? Like 2 shows ago, we were saying when he popped off when Okongwu was okay, just how crazy of a nut you must be.
And then even then it said that's his day for reevaluation as well. So you might get an extra, you might get that 5th game out of him, and he's doing a little bit of everything. So he's an exciting player to have, especially. I've picked him up in a 20-man league, so there's no concerns for me there. I don't know if I pick him up in a shallower league just because he's a bit volatile and you don't know what they're going to do with him. It's obviously a very short-term pickup because as soon as a Congo's back, there he goes again. But it's really nice to know that if a Congo goes down or if Capella goes down, that they just go with him and he can put up good fantasy numbers. So you've got him there who's got that security, but it's very short term. And then you've got the 2 boys there in Trace and in Pajemski in Golden State, who you're going to watch in their 1 o'clock game today, their last game of the day, and see how they go and make a decision after that.
You've got to find more guys that have made your must-add list or must-watch list for the week. Talk us through these blokes. The first one is interesting. I've loved this bloke, and this is let me say my feels. I love Tamani Kamara. I think he's been an absolute great ad on the season. He's flirted with a lot of value. He's actually gone down because he put up a stinker in his last game. He went 0 from 3, but the fringe benefits were nice of the 7 rebounds and the 3 assists. But this is exactly a guy who's gone down on ownership, Malley, who's made your list because, you know what, we can all have off games. But he's been playing really, really well for them.
And there's been a lot of rounds that I've won by a steal. And Kamara, basically, you're penciling in for at least 1, which is great, especially when you get to the end of the week and you're like, who's my best shot at being able to get me a steal as the round closes out. But he's basically, you can team up for a steal. You can see there the rebounds are good. His numbers are through the roof. I'd say as soon as you search on any of your waiver wires by minutes played, he's basically going to be at the top each time. So he doesn't really have any games where he just goes out of control. But, as you're looking at there, he's good for 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. That's pretty good for someone off your waiver wire. The next one, Cody there. We know that, what's his name? Brandon is going to be out. So I thought Cody was just the natural pickup there, a little bit like a lot of these guys that are floating around in your waiver wire. He just does enough, 10 points, 5 rebounds. He'll get some defensive stats. His shooting percentages are trash, so you've got to be aware of that. Laravia, well, that's because Marcus Smart is out, and even when Marcus Smart plays, it's just Marcus Smart playing is him getting ready to be out again, basically. Like that guy, his career of late has been shocking these last few seasons. He's just continually injured. Like he's just always hurt. So Laravia is a guy who steps in. He's a little bit like a Kamara, gets you some out of position rebounds. He'll get you a steal. You'd be stoked if you could get 10 points out of him. But he kind of fits that archetype. And these are like good padding guys, like with most of these guys on this list here. Kelly Olynyk's another perfect one. Wendell Carter maybe a little bit more of a specialist, but just guys who can get you a few rebounds, a few assists, a few points. The percentages aren't too bad. They don't shoot enough from either the line or the field to really devastate you anywhere, because that's just not who they are on their respective teams. But they'll get you a steal and a block as well. And it's all these little counting stats that trickle through without really hammering your percentages. These are the guys that are golden nuggets for me anyway when I'm looking at the waiver wire. Who's not going to affect me negatively, while just slowly dribbling in those counting stats that I'm going to need and a build up by the end of the week.
And I also look at those as like addition by addition. So these guys as well with the, like you said, Cody Martin, who will hurt you on your field goal percentage. But when you're bringing in like a Unite guy like Kelly Olynyk, who generally has a reasonable field goal percentage, and if you're on a punt field goal percentage thing, he can insulate that a little bit. Like he can give you some bumps because he does get some reasonable volume. Kamara is the same as well. Now, the last game was a bit of a stinker, but when we look back over his percentages, he's up nearly around the 500s. And if you're in one of those builds, you can probably expect to be like Malley, 420, 430, 440 most days. So if you're getting a guy into your lineup that's going to bump you up a few percentage points, what they're doing is they're just chipping in and giving you a little value. They're value additive across the board. They don't really hurt you, free throw percentage wise, but they are giving you the counting stats. You might get 2 steals and a block out of it. That's really great. And if you pick them up for 3 games, well, there's 6 and 3 that you didn't have previously. You've got 2 of these guys. All of a sudden, that's 12 and 6. And that can make a big difference in your fantasy lineup if you're active on your waiver wire for someone who's not picking up guys like this and adding those little counting stats here and there.
And people get spooked too because they see someone like Cody Martin, and let's say he's I don't know what he is, you could find the stats there, but let's say he's a 70% free throw shooter, and he plays in a game and he goes 1 from 3 or he goes 1 from 4, which is somewhat hurtful. But you've got Trey and you've got Shai Gilgeous on your team, and they both go 9 from 10 that game. And then all of a sudden you're looking at what's that, like 19 or something like that, 19 out of 24. And those are still great percentages. So like, I think you've got to look at the broader picture as well, not just focus on percentages. Look at how many times they're getting to the line and how much that's realistically going to affect you, because 1 from 3, that's 33%. But when you've on the same day that you're playing with Shea and you're playing with Trey on your team or something like that, it's really a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. You can see his free throw attempts per game in the last week has only been about 3. He's hit as well. He has hit reasonably, and he's usually hitting around. Look his free throw attempts this year, only 35 on the year, and he's 686, which actually shows an improvement over his past 2 seasons from the free throw line. So if you can probably bank in about 700 there, don't go over, go 650 if you're doing the mental calculations. You can see where these guys get to be an ad and on the lower volume as well. It doesn't hurt you as much as other blokes can when they get into that as well. So this is where, when we're looking at that on Cody, we can get those kind of percentages there. So you can see he's at 686 right now, 606 previously, and 571, but it's only on 3 attempts per game over his last ones. If we look at his average, so he's not There we go. So 3 attempts in the past 2 weeks, and he's hit everything over the past 2. And then the last month, he's been almost 700. So he's showing a bit of an improvement in this area.
Yeah, just a smaller deep dive into the numbers behind the statistics and the percentages. And the last guy on my list there, Wendell Carter, obviously with Mo out for the rest of the season. If he's still floating around at the moment, he's a great pickup. Good for him. I was forever nervous. I've got what's his name? Who's their other center?
When Gogo Badadze.
Goga. So I've got Goga in 2 of my 4 leagues at the moment, and I've always thought to myself, well, I'm just riding this high. I'll get the double and the 2 blocks each game and be happy, and then I'm going to have to let him go. But the injury to Mo is great for me. Obviously, not for the Wagner family, and not for the Magic as an organisation. But it's great as a Goga owner to go, all right, I can breathe now. I can look at him as a longer term hold now. So silver linings. And I was
silver. I love that we nothing. But this is an interesting one about Gogo Badadze as well. I thought Gogo would be added a lot more. I'm about to absolutely I am going to blow your mind on this. Now, in no league that I'm available in is he available, but this is what, for me, I thought was really funny. Gogo Badadze is actually available in 45% of Yahoo leagues, which for me is this is now a time where he's going to be the first guy on my list on top of your Wendell ad is a must add. So if you're out there right now and you're running through your Yahoo list, and all the Yahoo ones that I'm in are probably they're all analyst leagues or guys who I know who are in basketball or dynasty leagues. So that's the only Yahoo ones that I'm in. So he's in this league rostered by the Memphis Sounds. Oh God, is that Matty? Is that no? That's surely Matty O'Brien. He's going back to the Memphis Sounds name. Jeez, man. Good on you. But look, you can just see what he's been. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. He's 68 on Yahoo on their rankings, but 9.5, as you said, almost a double per game. And if you look through his last schedule here, he's pretty much done it for the last 5, apart from one there where he went 4 from 7. Excellent field goal percentage. He is giving you those blocks per game, getting you the rebounds, occasional steal. The turnovers, he can make some games are not, but for me, he's gone up 6% in the last day. So if there is any way, shape, or form that he is available in your Yahoo, ESPN, or Fantrax leagues, it's time to. I had a look through my waiver yesterday, and he wasn't available in any league that I'm in. So I know that he's off on those, on analyst leagues or friends and family, or guys who are really big NBA heads. He is definitely there. He's definitely taken in 10-teamers. Not taken in 10ers. I would be wondering if he is 10-team value at this point. And I would have to argue that I think he's 10-team value now. He moves up to the perennial starter. Wendell Carter's been down, but as you said, as an ad, so he's the streamer. Whereas last year, where there was injuries, Wendell Carter Jr. reassumed that, like you mentioned, I ride out Goga for as long as it takes. Wendell he was the starter. He went out of the lineup, and then he usurped Goga later on, and Goga went back to just not existent, and fantasy relevant. I think in this case, much like the Utah Jazz situation with John Collins, who's now an absolute must roster guy with Taylor Hendricks being out for the season, who's the next man up that has to fill the void because they've got really nobody else? And it's Goga for me. So I think he's absolutely, I think in 10-teamers, would you agree? He makes the, get him in on 10s?
Well, I mean, you think about him in comparison. I mean, you line his stats up with someone like Zubac, he's doing basically the same thing as Zoo's doing. He's getting a block a game. He's getting just a double-double, 10 points, 15 rebounds. And obviously you'd always pick Zoo out of the 2 of them just for job security. But now that's probably a more even playing field. Yeah, it seems inexcusable to have one and not have another in a 10-man. So, yeah, for me, definitely.
All right, me too. That's the first guy off my list. The next guy on my list is Dylan Brooks on the back of his huge game the other day. I'm liking Patrick Williams, that I didn't think I would say the words. I didn't think I would like him possibly as much as the Chicago organization, because they put an absolute bankroll on him in the holidays. And we were all like, oh, this is great. But he is widely available in leagues. And his last couple of games have been somewhat decent. And I think this is starting to be the case with obviously all the talk of the town being about the being about trades and what's going to happen. But Patrick Williams' last couple of games has been great. He is only 8% rostered. You can see that he is starting to track up there. These couple of games are impressive. A couple of threes. Field goal percentage could come up, 14, 5, and 5. But he's getting you the counting stats in the defensive that I like. He's averaged a block over his last 3 games. And I do think this is where we can start to see a bit of an uptick on Patrick Williams. So he's on my watch list, and he's available readily in across leagues. So the next guy up on my list here would be Andrew Nemhard. He is 24% rostered, which I think was just absolutely insanely good value. 8% rostered in ESPN and 60% rostered in Fantrax. And what we've learned is when we can see someone highly owned in Fantrax leagues, that can have a little bit of a ripple effect into other leagues. Fantrax being a smaller pool of NBA heads are probably more on the pulse than some of the other leagues, which are also more community-based leagues or wider spread leagues. So we can get glean some nuggets from there. The next guy is Aaron Naismith, edging nearer to his return, like you mentioned earlier in the show, Malley. He's 10% owned in Yahoo, 2% in ESPN, and 45% owned in Fantrax leagues. Most of this one, there's been no movement on his ownership because he's been owned by people who've had him in IL spots and been very happy to have him there just to see where it goes. Benedict Mathurin obviously being the next guy up there who's been playing well. People have acquired him. I think Mathurin takes the biggest hit when he returns. And that's the big question mark is Benedict Mathurin. Where does he go with Naismith on the agenda to come back? He's been playing well for the Indiana Pacers, and they've been on a surge. But I think guys like him and maybe even Obi Toppin do take a little bit of a hit minutes-wise in that rotation. And my last one on my making my list this week is Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal has been stepping up incredibly well in Phoenix, and you can see he's been dropped in Yahoo leagues 23% and 63% in Fantrax. He's gone up to 12% in ESPN. I think he has been an absolute ad with the news recently of the injury to Devin Booker. He's been getting additional minutes all along, and he's actually been playing well. In fact, Yahoo, funnily enough, has him ranked. This is what I thought was very, very interesting. Yahoo have him ranked as the 61st best player in fantasy. Now, by no way, shape, or form is he this, but if you look at what his counting stats have been doing, he's actually been filling up the cup on incredible percentages. You look at the season stats on this bloke over the past. Now he's gone down a little bit in this ranking, but over the last 2 weeks, he has been averaging a 3+ a game. He's been averaging 580. He's been getting all of the counting stats you need in the world. And here you go right here. In the last week, he's been averaging 10 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3 threes on 636 with 1.5 steals. That is elite value. Be mindful of the turnovers though. But Royce O'Neal, do you like the Hawaiian necklace that he's got on in the photograph? He looks like a surfer.
It looks like I was going to say more looks like Lisa Simpson, like he's got the pearls on. And then I was just thinking, looking at that picture, like it's just unfair. Like these black guys make everything look so cool. Like if I tried to do that, man, I would be like stoned in the streets. But good on him. It looks sick.
Just like a little. I can imagine you with a puka necklace.
Yeah, that's what I need. Doing shopping down at the beach.
No, this is the guys that I had on the show earlier in the week. These are the ones we're going to look for, and we're going to talk about the targets. And we're going to throw this up in a very different light in a second. Malley and I are going to break down the schedule. We thought we'd do something fun to finish the show because it is Christmas week. We want to give it to you from the top. So this is the week beginning the 23rd of November, 23rd of December. It is Christmas week, and some of the targets that I've got are Anthony Black, Cole Anthony, Santi Aldama, Luke Kennard, as well as Jake LaRavia there from Memphis. I love that one from you, Malley. We've got Miles McBride, Grayson Allen, and Quentin Grimes. Now, why are these guys important, Malley? Malley, take us through when you look at the schedule, and I'm going to pull the schedule up on the board right now as well. This is the schedule for the week, and as we can see here, so many games getting played today that we don't have to worry so much. Tell us about how we're going to look into how you're looking to schedule this as I scroll up and down the schedule for the week.
Well, as I said before, I'm not going to touch Monday or Tuesday, and then just looking at what I can do for that Wednesday, Thursday, and then going on to the Thursday, Friday, even though they're fairly heavy games at 9 and 8 there. But yeah, I think if you can make your first pickup after the game's finished today, especially because I know in a lot of leagues too, I just have these teams apparently that are all scrub teams. I've got the best guy on the worst team apparently in one of my leagues because I think I've got one guy playing on the Christmas Day games, and that's Derek White. So yeah, I think that the big start there will be trying early to pick someone up because I reckon come Christmas Eve night for us. Things are going to kick off with people picking up whoever they can pick up. So make your pickups nice and early would be my first suggestion. As soon as the games kick off today, like as you said, if you're an ESPN, I think basically as soon as the games tick on, you can start picking up for the next day and still get the game out of the guy without dropping them for today's game. But yeah, I'd say like looking at some of those games there, like Dallas, that wouldn't be too bad to pick up, especially with someone like Luka at the moment. You had Grimes up there before. Phoenix, he'll get some run. Maybe that's the game that they play Luka in. And then Luka might need to sit for the second of the back-to-back against Portland, and that'd be a great game for some grimy stats. Who we got there? The Knicks doing that back-to-back the Friday, Saturday as well looks pretty good. Yeah, like the Phoenix Suns, you said before, Royce. Even if everyone plays in that game, we got Grayson back from his concussion. I'd still say that he's going to do damage, and he doesn't need a lot of minutes or a lot of usage to be a valuable pickup. So he'd be another guy that I'm looking at as well. But yeah, then I'd say as well, like, you know, I talked about most of my leagues having 4 pickups. You might even have an extra pickup by that Saturday that you can start thinking about that rollover. Do we have any games that roll the Sunday, Monday at the end of the week?
Yeah, we do. We actually we do have. Oh no, next week there is none. There is none next week. So there is no Sunday, Monday back to back for next week. So we can actually forget about that one on our schedule and just really go for the win. It is good in a way. I said this the other day. It's like it's a blessing in a disguise. So what you do is if you can save any ads, you do them on the Sunday, so you get them out of the way, left over for the week, and you attack your Monday, Tuesday schedule for next week. But these are the teams here that we've pulled out that we really like because they do play today if you do have an opening. And if you do have an opening today, great. If you don't, fair. But the great thing about this schedule, and this is why I really like the Mavericks this week, the Denver Nuggets, I'm talking like your Strouthers, your Peyton Watsons even. Look, for whatever reason, if Saric comes back or DeAndre Jordan has to play because Jokic is out, these are guys who are going to have some form of value here for the Nuggets. The next team here is the Golden State Warriors. You touched on Pods and Trace Jackson-Davis. The Lakers, I like the Lakers and Rui Hachimura early in the week, especially if he is on any waiver wires with the Monday and the Wednesday game for them to get them out of the way really quickly, then drop him off at the car park. Also liking this for the Minnesota Timberwolves, but again, really leaning heavily into the schedule of the Mavericks, the Nuggets, because they play on the Friday and the Saturday. So you get the first day if you need them, or you're getting the first day. You're getting 3 games in 4 days over the Wednesday to Saturday. And then you can go really hard on the Sunday where we do have 6 games of action. You can pick up some guys off the wire there. But those are the teams that I'm liking. Like you said, Phoenix Suns, like that a lot. New York Knicks, 4 games for the week. Love that. Lakers, those 3 games dropping off maybe early in the week. But really, I think the standouts are the Dallas Mavericks, the Denver Nuggets, the Golden State Warriors, the New York Knicks, the Phoenix Suns here as well. I think they're the teams that I want to get my 4 games out of the way early.
Yeah, that Minnesota lineup looks kind of tasty too. Like I like those matchups for them. And I also like that they have the Friday, Sunday, because you dance very delicately around that 9-game Saturday where you might not need a pickup. So if you could get like a Dante DiVincenzo, who's kind of coming back into favor a little bit at the moment and playing not too badly, he might be a decent pickup. I know Skiddy will sing his praises. I
love him. I went to grab him in a league yesterday, and I got swiped by about 4 minutes, and I was like, "You son of a gun!"
Yeah. And again, that's just going back to I think we've referenced it at least 3 times on today's podcast, is knowing when to pull the trigger on these guys. You know, like it is a hard thing to do. It's a part of the game. You don't want to go too early because you might miss something better. But
I had to wait. I had to wait till the trade window. I made a trade. I picked up Darius Garland for Desmond. I needed to shed a spot, and I got rid of Desmond Bain. The trade was accepted before him and Shaden Sharp went thermonuclear. And I traded both of them away to pick up Darius Garland, which I was happy with. I got a streaming spot in. That's what I really needed. I needed another point guard in that team because Emmanuel Quickly's been out. It just seems like forever now. So I was happy with that. And that was my ad. I was going to get some points back. And the trade went through, processed. I was like, I'll get back to it. Finished dinner, went back to it, and I missed it because I ate food. The moral is don't eat, just play fantasy basketball. I think is the main thing.
That's a drawback.
That's a drawback. Here we go. This is on the Sunday. We're looking at the teams here that we can get the Sunday action out of. this week. Now, on that last day, you've got the Hawks that play, the Celtics, the Nets, the Rockets, the Pacers, the Grizz, the Heat, the Timberwolves. Like you said, they've got a great schedule. The Thunder, we've got guys like Kayson Wallace in there. We've got guys like Alex Caruso, who's just signed that 4-year, $81 million contract. The Orlando Magic, like we said, Wendell Carter Jr. has been on those benches. The Spurs, Champagne, if anyone's out. Even Harrison Barnes has been worth a look. And we are expecting maybe around this week here for the Toronto Raptors, quite possibly, the return of Emmanuel Quickly. If not, we can still get guys into our team like Davion Mitchell. He's been playing well. Ochai Agbaji, even getting some benefits there with Scotty Barnes being back in. Yeah, and Jamal Shed, man. These are guys that we can all look to at the end, at the back end of the week this week.
Yeah, that was a fun game to watch yesterday at Houston and Rockets one.
It was.
Could have been anyone till the end there. It was wild. Who would have thought that was the games of the day to watch? Not all.
And I did not. And I did not think that Fred VanVleet in a return to Toronto was going to stink up that badly. I thought, like the old revenge game.
Yeah.
You know the revenge game. Yeah. I was like, maybe this is a narrative. It's not a real thing, but maybe it is. It wasn't.
And I know you're out and about today, and so am I. But what with a stacked slate, what game would you be wanting to watch? I'm just looking through the list now to see what if it's going to be a good matchup.
I noted this on 3. I've got 3. You go, give me your 3, and I'll give you my 3.
Well, the first one that I want to watch is the Timberwolves and Hawks game. I think Timberwolves are sick of losing. And I think Hawks also definitely, if they have Trey. If they don't have Trey, it will be a completely different game. But that would be one of the ones I'd want to watch. I think the Grizz and the Clippers game might be fun to watch.
I had that. That's one of mine.
Guys. And probably the last one that I'd want to watch there is probably the Pacers and Warriors game. I just want to see how the Warriors deal with their little slump, and the Pacers are the opposite. They seem to be hitting some form, so it might be I'd say they're my 3. Any others that you'd think are worth putting league pass on?
Look, Wemby versus Embiid. I really like that at 11 o'clock. The Spurs versus the 76ers game. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I think Wemby's coming off a couple of really good games and starting to find that later season form that we saw him. Let's be honest, he wasn't the number 1 option in fantasy to start the year. You know my truth that Jokic for me was still the best player. And I think this is what's going to happen, that it merges into Wemby. And I think that's served out, but I own Wemby in 1 league. And I'm like, geez, this is fun. Like, like I have him in 1 league. Like, mate, this is just fun. I'm really looking forward to that one.
You've got him in one, and then you've got Jokic in the one that we're in together. So that must be a joy of joys to be able to have the 2 potential number 1 fantasy options.
It's interesting
that probably won't ever happen to you again.
It probably won't, but the interesting thing is, it's interesting to see where the wins and the losses. I benched Wemby last week by accident because I was traveling down here, and I lost that league. I tied that league 4-4. Had I played him, there was 3 guys on the bench. I would have easily have swiped it. But it's just easy to see, like, even against you last week, because I had a limited amount of Nuggets games, and that went for so long, that double week, like, where you get your wins and your losses. So it's really interesting to see that. That was a little.
I did pay note to that, and I was stoked that I had you this last round rather than this round because Denver play heaps. So I was fortunate to land you. The other funny thing that I'm really thinking about at this part of the season too is you look at a lot of these teams who are like 2 wins or something like that, and you think, oh, good, I'm coming up against them. But there are also teams that have had injury woes, and they're getting back there. That some guys like a Paolo or something, or like an Emmanuel Quickly, and you've got to start watching out for these guys too. Don't write them off. Hopefully they haven't written themselves off, and you still get a decent matchup.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is where I would love to have played you on a 7-day, like, where you and I going hammer and tongs against each other would have just been a lot of fun. But where you get the big week and it's just the game's off. And then
finals anyway, mate. Don't worry about it.
I think I will. And you got LaMelo back, you bastard. I was like, oh, Jesus, why can't he be? Don't come back early. My last game that I really want to watch is, I just think it's going to be fun to watch the young teams go at each other. I actually want the Raptors and the Knicks game. I like this team because of the trades last season, and I just think there's a little bit of blood between the two of them and that trade and those players coming back. RJ Barrett really showed out the last time the Knicks played that. I enjoyed that kind of little that play. I don't think it's going to be a great game, but I do think there's going to be a bit of a competitive nature there. The game that I really want to see is the chicanery of the Bulls versus the Bucks without Giannis and Dame. I just want to see with Vooch on a bit of a slide right now. I want to see if he can regain some value against Lopez, because this could be that buy low side. And the last one for me was the Nuggets and the Suns game, because I really like the Sun. I want to see what the Suns can do without Booker, but with Beal and Durant in the lineup. And I think the Nuggets have been okay, but there's a little bit of talk about trades and the MPJ on the move, possibly. So I just want to see what kind of form that they can find, obviously being a perennial contender with someone who wants to be a contender. At that 2:00 game, I'm interested in seeing that one.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a good day of basketball, and then we have the day off to follow. So yeah, then as you said, we're back to some regularity in our weeks with no 0-game days, which would be nice.
Oh, sing praises, hallelujah. Malley, thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe to All Things Insight, and make sure you get onto the Christmas list for our good friends, the Standard Squeeze. Their promo code for us is IFS15. You can get your 4-in-1s, you can get the apparel. You can see Malley rocking right down there right now. On the heart, on the chest, on the proud. I drank proudly. I stole my wife's 4-in-1 on the drive down here, and I just drank from my pink sippy cup.
Yeah,
it was a lot of. It's great for the car. Great for a 6-hour drive down to the borderlands of the Victoria and New South Wales rural district, mate. Have an absolute crack, and make sure you get onto that for all of your stuff. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the bell down below. We are the Insight Fantasy Sports Network. We are the Insight NBA Show, and we wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.